victory. I just got another victory. Opposition said they sick of me. We turned their future to history. They tried to hit me, they missing me. Ooh, they in the way. They getting stepped on back in the day. We who they slept on. You see my place. It's never.
What's going on, Knicks Nation? What's going on? I want to welcome you back to Sheer Brilliance Knicks. Got a special treat for y'all. I see you, KP in there. Give me a moment. I'm gonna get you in here. I got a special treat for y'all. Our New York Knicks pulled out a phenomenal victory last night. Phenomenal. And we're here to talk about it. The New York Knicks blasted the Houston Rockets last night. Blasted them. Emmanuel quickly dropped 40 in the Mecca. We're here to talk about it. And you know there's only one way that we celebrate victories here at Sheer Brilliance Knicks. And that's visiting Knicks Deli. And this is what I'm excited about because I have somebody to help me steer the ship today in terms of Knicks Deli. So let me take an opportunity to bring him on right now really quickly. We got my guy KP in the house, Kris Pursiainen. Welcome, my brother. What's going on with you?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Man, thank you for joining me.
Appreciate the hospitality on the show, man. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and yeah, it was a good win for those New York Knicks of yours. So great time to come on the show for sure.
Yes, it absolutely is. But hold on for a second.
Quickly's performance too.
Lights out. But let me give you the proper introduction, my guy, because just in case people aren't familiar with who you are, you know what I mean, and your fandom in the game, let me give you the proper introduction. So this is Kris Pursiainen. Am I saying that correctly? I call him KP. You know, this guy is a phenom. Extreme knowledge, not only with basketball, but across all sports. You may have been introduced to my guy through Knicks Film School, where he has schooled us as the host of the Draft Class podcast. Also, the Knicks Film School halftime live show I look forward to when he does it. He's also the co-host of the weekly Study Hall show on Twitter Spaces with Sean Hardy, so you can find him there as well. But he's also an on-air personality for WFUV Public Radio. And this is where he does beat reporting for our New York Knicks. He also hosts live shows, hosts podcasts. He provides color commentary now for Fordham's women's basketball games. I checked them out. I'm like little Mike Breen in the making. And you know, Fordham produces those guys. You know, just a long line of those guys. But lastly, my guy also does freelance work as a creative director of social media and video content. So if you're looking for some business, quality work, hit this guy up 100%. If you want to give him real quick, Kris, your social media handles before we get into it.
You're too kind, man. Too kind. I appreciate you. Thank you. I'm not gonna bother the people with trying to spell my name. Just go look at the spelling of my name, type that into Twitter, I'll come up, you'll see me there.
We got you bottom of the screen.
Yes sir, thank you, man. I'll be there. I'll be at the Garden a couple times this week, so look out for coverage for WFUV Sports from those two games I'll be at against the Heat and the Wizards this week. So the other thing I want to say is, I'm not trying to plug anything. Just if there's anyone that people out there want me to get, pregame warm-up videos, there's any, special interest from fans, reporters are for the people. WFUV is public radio. We are for the people. Hit me up, let me know if you're a big, whoever it is, Butler, Hero, Gabe, Vincent, Max Strus, I don't know, whoever it is. That's what I'm there to do. And I try to get warm-up footage of everyone. But I've always struggled with who to post. Mm-hmm. So if you let me know, that makes it easier for me. So I'm not plugging anything, just being a little lazy, honestly. But I'm just trying to hear y'all out, hear what y'all are trying to see. Because that's what I do. I report for y'all for WFUV Sports. And then, Nick Film School. This I will plug. 7 p.m. tonight on the KFS YouTube. I will be live doing Dream Draft rules everything around me.
Let's
And that's a
go.
live show where you can come in and ask all the questions you want. If you saw my big board that came out and you're like, Jesus Christ, this is terrible. Well, guess what? You don't have to just leave rude replies on Twitter. You can come ask me what it is that I saw that made me think that. So you can come ask me whatever. Guys that didn't make my top 10. You could ask me if I would have a guy in the lottery or not, if I would take a guy first round or not. Ask me whoever. I've watched hours and hours of college tape. I probably know who you're talking about. So, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to come in and hang out. It's a vibe that I hope is similar to what my guy creates here on Knicks Deli Live, which is very chill, very intellectual and informational. So you guys know that's why I'm here on this show. So much respect, man.
I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate you. So we're not going to take a typical format. I just want to tell the people, if you're joining my channel for the first time, I want to welcome you. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button so that you're aware of any video, anytime we go live, any content that we produce. Hit the like button if you enjoy what it is that you see. If you are returning to the channel, my SB community, welcome back. You already know we roll deep. And we got a treat for you today, all right? But we also know that you can't have those people who 100% agree with you. You got those people who may have a difference of opinion, or those people who may be coming from other teams, and they simply want to hear about how we're talking about their team. So if you're part of that crowd, we see you too. We see you in the comment section, sectioning and commenting. And guess what? You're rocking with the best, baby. All right, friend or foe, we want the smoke. All right, and the smoke is exactly what we're bringing today, courtesy of these New York Knicks, blasting the Houston Rockets. But we're going to do this Knicks Deli style. So if you're unaware of what Knicks Deli is where we meet at after every New York Knicks victory. Okay? Now here in Knicks Deli, there's only 4 items on the menu. There is the bacon, egg, and cheese. And you have to say it that way. If you're not from New York, you have to understand the importance of the deli, okay? And don't walk in there and say, can I get a bacon, egg, and cheese? They're going to push you out the door, all right? You have to say bacon, egg, and cheese, one word, all right? Now, the bacon, egg, and cheese are what are the 3 components? Who are the 3 players of the game that together really helped us secure this victory? So we're going to talk about who was the bacon, who was the egg, and who was the cheese. Next is the dollar slice. Now, everybody in the world knows that New York has the best pizza in the world. And I know where I'm at. I'm in Indiana. I'm 2 hours away from Chicago. That's not pizza. That's a deep dish. Okay? New York has the best pizza in the world. And the pizza has been a stabilizing factor on the New York menu. So we're going to see who is the stabilizing factor. Who's the player that really leveled us out? And we relied on their input in the game to help us get this victory. Next on the menu is the chopped cheese. Now, the chopped cheese is relatively new to the New York scene, but that thing be busting. So we're going to talk about who's the chopped cheese of the game, who's relatively new in terms of their impact on this game and helped us get over the top. And lastly, you can't have the bacon, egg, and cheese. You can't have the dollar slice. You can't have the chopped cheese if you ain't got nothing to wash that thing down with. And here in Philly, we have the quarter water. So we're going to ask, who is the quarter water of the game? Who is that player that came in and had an impactful quarter or really impacted the game a little bit each quarter to help us secure this victory? So after the menu, we look at who is the nah, son, nah, you wildin' moment of the game. And that's some part of the game, whether it's before, after, or during the game, that made you look at the screen sideways and say, nah, son, nah, you wildin'. So after that, we're going to talk about reading it at Knicks Deli, and that's where we visit very briefly Reddit to see what other members of Knicks Nation is talking about in the Reddit community. And then we're going to tie this thing up. But sprinkled in there, we're going to have questions for Kris, and obviously we're going to touch base with you guys. We know you at work, and this is the start of the morning drive or the afternoon drive. So we know y'all going to trickle in as you come along. Or even afterwards, leave your questions in the comment section if you're watching this video a little bit later on. I answer all of them, okay? So this is how we're going to chef this thing up. So I want to thank my guy, Kris, for joining us And let me see if I can quarterback this thing. Normally, before every video, before I hop into Knicks Deli, I gotta do this first. We do something called Shea's Top 5 here. So this is Top 5 Dead or Alive. Who are the top 5 members in the Sheer Brilliance community, my SB community? And this is a shout out to the top 5. First and foremost is Lens NY. Lens NY. Yes, that's twice. Twice is nice. Second is Arel Israel. Third is Daniel Smith. Fourth is Christopher Gianfranco. And fifth is Leroy Myers. Shout out to you all. You are Shea's top 5 today here at SB Knicks. Wanted to give a shout out to you guys. All right. And since we are at Knicks Deli, you know we got to throw the Knicks Deli up. And we'll start off with the bacon, egg, and cheese. And this is where I pull you in on this, my guy. We talk about who is the bacon, egg, and cheese of the game. Who are the 3 players of the game? Who for you would you say is your bacon of last night's game?
This is a good one. Am I allowed to go with? Are we doing the whole game? Is it cheating if I choose a non-Knick? If I choose a Rocket, or do I go all Knicks?
And you know what? That's a nice little spin. We're gonna open it up. So whether it's all Knicks or a Rocket, yeah, let's do it that way. Who is your bacon?
All right. So for bacon, I'm thinking tasty. Great game, but ultimately, even though the stats look great, not the best game. Bacon not the best for you. Shouldn't be eating a whole lot of it. Maybe I'm thinking too deep into this, but I was feeling Jabari Smith Jr. because he had 14 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. He did that 46% shooting on 13 shots, just 0 of 1 from 3. Like, he really did that inside the arc. So for me, I think that was a great game from him. And even though he had a steal and a block, I didn't think it was the best defensive performance. But it showed that long term you want to stick around with him. But right now, maybe not the best for you, even though it looks real good.
Mm-hmm. Now, he was the top pick, right?
Yeah, so he was projected to go number 1 the whole cycle. Right. By a lot of people out there, but my mock draft 2.0, I put him at number 1 overall because all the rumors circulating, but he ended up going after that to the Houston Rockets at number 3. So you had Chet at 2, Paolo at 1.
Excellent. Yeah, a lot of talent, man. The Houston Rockets are overflowing with a lot of talent. I'd say my bacon of the game, of course, I'm going to be a homer throughout this. So I have Emmanuel quickly. I have IQ, 40 points, 2 rebounds, 9 assists. We talk about IQ all the time, man, but his growth has just been mind-boggling. And I love the fact that he plays his position, and when he's called on, he continues just to be himself and really put forth his best effort. I love the support that the organization as well as the coach provides for him. It's just a beautiful thing to see him grow into his own. And it's going to be a concern that we're going to have in the very near future in terms of the extension and just him in this league. Just as we see his growth, we've been able to see it in-house, but there's a lot of other people paying attention now. And he's definitely a starter in the future. So we'll go with that. Who is your egg? Who would you say is your egg of the game?
So that's, to me, like the base, right? That's your foundation. That's what you really like leaning back on. That could go in a breakfast burrito, whatever it is you feeling.
Talk your talk.
To me, man, I gotta go with Emmanuel quickly. That's the star, but he had a very effortless performance to me. It was not something where he tried out there to chase 40 points. It came, right? And he had 40 points, but what impressed me most was the 9 assists and only 1 turnover. That was fantastic from him. So I'm going to go with him for that one.
Man, how would you say Jalen Brunson has impacted Emmanuel Quick as a player?
I think Brunson, I always say about Brunson, he's short and everyone knows it. And so he's had to master his footwork and creating space on the court when there is none. And I think, you've seen Quigley's 2-point percentage go up a lot this year. And that's because he got stronger and he's better finishing inside. But I think the better finishing inside comes from both being stronger and better at the skill. And I think a lot of those tips, a lot of those pointers have come from Jalen Brunson. I don't think you need to sit and say, oh, Jalen Brunson and Tom Thibodeau are responsible for the development of Emmanuel Quickley. I always say 85 to 80% of the work gets done at home, 15 to 20 with the team. So that to me is what I think is what averages out to being about right. And so you have to give the majority of the credit to the player always. But it's great that Brunson and Thibodeau are there to help provide the structure for him that he's been able to thrive in.
Excellent. Yes. Agreed. All right. My egg of the game, I pointed out being Julius Randle. Julius is our guy. Okay, we're gonna put him up here. But you guys certain when it comes to Jules, he turns into jukebox, Bocure sometimes. All right, this is courtesy of our guy Baca Backpages, but he is consistent. He has been consistent. He's been available. At this point, you're looking at 26 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Julius at this point is becoming expected, that output. And that's what you really look at superstars to do. Now, I know the jury is still out. We still have the remainder of the season and we have the playoffs before we really attach that label. But if we don't attach it to members of our team first, who will? And we know the history of media and opposing fan bases and even members of our own fan base. But in terms of his output and his impact on the game and his passion towards the game, I think that's unquestioned. And you can see it clearly in this effort. So he would be my egg of the game, I would say, for this game. And lastly, who would you identify as your cheese, my guy? Who is the cheese of the bacon, egg, and cheese for you?
So for me, I think this one is the one that holds it all together. The one that it comes in and it's that glue, that keeps the whole sandwich together. And if they both shot about 50% from the field, so I'm gonna go with a tie between Barrett and Randall.
Let's go.
I'm gonna go with those two because those two helped keep everything together. RJ 19-3, 5 assists.
Mm-hmm.
5 assists. You'll take that from Barrett. First time
Absolutely.
he's done that in a while. 3 turnovers. And then you have Randall, who was 10 for 19, like you talked about, 3 assists, 26 points, only 4 boards, but you had Grimes get 9 rebounds yesterday. Hartenstein gets 6. Those things are going to happen where players get, different amounts of rebounds. Josh Hart got 5. So Randall's not going to get every board out there. I thought he was great. I thought Barrett was great. And they really held it all together for the Knicks.
Since I got you on here, KP, man, talk to me a little bit about just your overall impression of RJ and Julius this season. What have you seen from them? What stands out? What are you proud of in terms of what they've been able to bring to the table up until this point?
In terms of that Barrett-Randall duo and how they've come along, I think that Brunson just makes things easier. I think that Brunson helps them out a lot in terms of spacing the floor, playmaking out there. I think the playoff series against the Hawks really showed that even when the Randall-Barrett duo is clicking and at its best, they need another playmaker out there. And so that's what Brunson can help achieve. But, with the Knicks going in such a direction with pull-up shooting and all these different things, I don't know if Barrett is the best fit. But what they have realized is that his driving is really efficient. So Thibodeau wants him driving the ball more, wants him driving the ball all the time. And I think that when you have someone like Barrett who's so good at driving, someone like Randall who's now become such a shooter, they're going to be a great combo, especially when they've got someone like Brunson stirring the drink, and they've come along in terms of being teammates. They know they have their differences, but they've been tight knit over the last couple of years as teammates go. They're not best friends. Everyone knows that, but you know how it is. It's a business, and they've been working together for the last couple of years successfully. So I think you take that.
Yeah, one thing I really love is the vibe of family around this team. The sense of family around this team, and similar to what it is, a lot of us know, we could fight with each other, but when it comes to somebody else trying to jump in and fight against one of our brothers, then we're not having that, and that's kind of what I see. It's almost like when the media asks RJ questions about Julius, there's not going to be anybody that speaks ill towards him or Julius speaking ill towards anybody else. They got each other's back. They talk about just being focused on winning, and they stick to that script. And that's something that I appreciate about this team, being relatively young but now seasoned. So that's awesome. We're just going to keep it moving here. Do me a favor, if you're watching this video, put your likes up. Throw the likes up for me.
Is this my show now? Did I just steal the show? Literally?
Why am I struggle streaming?
I said while you were gone, I stole the show. Literally. It's my show now.
My bad. Listen, welcome back. I don't know why I'm struggle streaming. But yeah, so we're going to get in. So we just covered the bacon.
Yeah, all good.
If you're joining us for the first time, we got a special guest here at Sheer Brilliance Knicks for Knicks Deli. We got Kris Pursiainen, who's joining us. He is a beat writer for the New York Knicks, amongst other things. So we're going to run to the chat real quick. See the vibes. Shout out to you, King Ribby RM. He says, salute to @Sheer and @Kris. Salute back to you, sir. And we're going to jump back into this phenomenal victory we had to set us back right on course to finish this season strong. All right, so do me a favor, throw your likes up. Next on the menu is the dollar slice. So the dollar slice of the game is, who is that stabilizing factor outside of those people we already named that helped us secure this victory? So I'm going to ask that question to you, Kris. Who would be your dollar slice of the game?
Got to go with Quentin Grimes here. 14 points.
Grimes.
Yeah, 9 rebounds and 6 assists is what impressed me, though. 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and he had 2 steals. So 4 for 9 from 3. I thought this was Grimes, doing what he does best, and he was doing it real well. So, good for QG, because that was a great performance from him.
Yeah, man, I agree, man. I've been really pleased. Man, I love his growth. I love the growth of all of the young players on the team. He's been able to pick and choose his spots. I think he's still trying to figure out, when to produce. But I like what IQ said last night during his interview. He said it could be anybody on any night, And for him, he's becoming our automatic 3-point threat. But his game is so versatile as well. He could drive to the basket. He could hit the 3. He passes. I love his vision. Something I did not expect from him as a player, but I see is his ability to penetrate the basketball and to be able to see and get the ball to his teammates in, under, and around the basket. So I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. I think that's a great selection. But my dollar slice of the game was Mitchell Robinson. Let me shout out Mitchell Robinson. Okay, I don't know if I have this photo on there, but Mitch, man, I'm a fan favorite of Mitch. He's always been one of my favorites. But last night, the first half, our defense was making me nervous. The defense was following the same theme as the previous games. And he settled all that down with a couple of moves in and around the basket last night on the defensive end. And that was something I was super stoked to see. It kind of reset us and helped us build on the momentum we had in the second half. So Mitchell Robinson, for me, I think was the dollar slice of the game. Dollar slice of the game. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Nah, just Robinson's been, up and down, I think, recently, but overall in the season, he's been good. So, it's good to see him, starting to trend in the right direction again with the playoffs coming up.
100%. Now we look at the chopped cheese. Who is the chopped cheese of the game? And the chopped cheese is that thing that's relatively new to the menu, but that thing be busting. So we're going to ask you, KP, who is your chopped cheese of the game?
Well, if we're talking new additions, I got to go with Josh Hart. 9 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 4 for 4 shooting, 1 for 1 from 3, and just 1 turnover. So 2 offensive rebounds for Hart as part of those 5 total rebounds. His newest addition to the Knicks, and he's a great contributor for them. Did all that in just 25 minutes, and he doesn't need to score a whole lot to bring a lot to the game. So that's what I would say is a good chopped cheese pick.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a great pick too. I was going to ask you, man, what do you think he means to us in terms of our overall goal, putting together a championship team? Like, what do you think he means to us?
Yeah, I think the Knicks definitely see him as someone that can be here long term as they pursue their aspirations of contending. I think the Knicks view him as someone they plan to extend this offseason and have around for several years.
Excellent. Yeah, I agree, man. I think at the very beginning of the season, one thing I was concerned about was we didn't have an emotional leader. I think we had a lot of all of our guys are great character guys, but someone who has a focused emotional, can get the crowd involved, can do the little plays. And then when we got Josh Hart, I'm like, wow, we got him. He's on the team. So great pick by the New York Knicks once again, another example of good decision-making by our front office and the organization. And we're going to tie this menu thing up with something to wash it down with. And we wash it down with the quarter water. So I'm going to ask my guy, KP, who is the quarter water of the game for you?
Man, that 17-minute performance from Deuce McBride would be my pick because I'm a sucker for the 2 steals, 1 block in that time. But Obi Toppin, 15 points, 2 rebounds. He had a block. And Obi, he did it on 6 for 12 shooting. So that was good for him. And he brought to the table, I think, everything that he's been known to be good at, and he did it without a whole lot of alley-oops or, he just went and got some buckets. So that was good for him.
Yeah, I know Knicks Nation always talks about the amount of minutes he received. He had 20 minutes last night. But what I love about Obi, man, is I like his feel for the game. It's when he's within the game, he doesn't just stand on the corners anymore. He moves a little bit more. That was something that was killing me in the past. But I think once that ball gets moving and they start running, his versatility comes out in that up and down style of play. So I think that's going to be helpful as we switch it up entering the playoffs. But it's problematic, man, because I don't know if we'll be able to keep him for the long term. He's too good. He's too good to be playing these spot minutes. So I'm curious to see how the New York Knicks handle it. But absolutely love to see him, really get out and run last night and put his imprint on the game. So I'm going to have to agree with you as well. Going back to the chat, we have another shout out. We have shout out from our communities, our children. OC, shout out to you. If you were here at the beginning of any of my shows and you hear the Knicks victory song play, this is directly from our communities, our children. So shout out to you. Love that song. And I'm happy to have it as part of the intro as well. All right. If you're just joining us, our special guest is Kris Pursiainen. He's a beat writer for the New York Knicks. He's joining us, talking about these Knicks, talking about this Rockets victory. And we're going to get into a little bit about his backstory towards the end as well. But now we're at the point where it's the nah, son, nah. You wildin' moment of the game. And this could be any point, whether it's before the game or something that you heard or something that you've seen during the game. So I'm going to ask you this, Kris. What was your nah, son, nah, you wildin' moment of the game?
You said we can expand to Houston, so I'm gonna go with Usman Garuba's airballed 3 from the corner. I was a fan. I was a fan of Garuba coming into the draft. I think he can still be an impact player, but that shot was bad.
Yeah. I'm gonna agree with you. I think, but I have one as well. I think for me, my nah, son, nah, you wildin' moment of the game is the disrespectful bounce of the young Houston Rockets players. They tried to embarrass us last night on a couple of occasions. Okay, Jalen Green brought the ball back here, and thankfully it didn't go down. But then there was another young Rocket, I forget his name, but he threw it down on us as well. Them boys are extra bouncy, and they tried to make a name for themselves in the Garden last night by embarrassing us. So my nah, son, nah, y'all wildin' moment of the game goes to the young bouncy Rockets who tried to disrespect us in the Mecca last night. They really tried to do it last night. All right. So I'm gonna get to this to the chat again. Once again, OC says thank you, bro. No problem. Also, there's a shout out to you, Kris. He says, hey, Kris. We got my guy Wiz in the house. Ashley Inc. 1 says salute, share, and welcome, Kris.
What's going on, everyone?
We got our guy Allah Y says peace, share. Peace to you, my brother. Joe White says LOL Green and KJ Martin was wildin'. Yes, they were wildin', bro. I dropped my food, my fork on the carpet. It was disrespectful. So this is the part of the show where we say it's hot off the grill. I read it at Knicks Deli. And this is where we take a little bit of a walk over to Knicks Reddit, and we see what they're talking about over there. So give me a moment. Let me chef this up. It's not going to be for too long. Then I'll have an opportunity to share my screen. Boom, there we go. All right, so we want to take a look at what they're saying. One of the first posts says, Tom Thibodeau has tied Mike D'Antoni for 121 wins, for 6th winningest coach in Knicks history. KP, could you tell me what is your take on Tom Thibodeau and the job he's done since he's been in New York?
Yeah, I think Thibodeau is a good head coach who is very specific about how he likes to coach. I don't think there's anything about him now that Knicks fans didn't know when he was hired. I do think that the front office struggles that led him to have things end in Chicago, and when he was the front office in Minnesota, that got him fired there was not everyone was necessarily on the same page, and that led to him no longer having jobs at those two organizations. Now, we know factually from all the reporting around the Knicks front office and coaching staff that not everyone is on the same page at Fort Penn. But what's different about the Knicks is that, as you know, Leon Rose and William Wesley have a great relationship with Thibodeau from over the years, as they represented him for years, and this allows them to work with him. And I really do think they treat him as a member of the front office. I think you've got Rose and Wesley and Aller, and then you've got your Perrin and Perry and Thibodeau and different guys with input, but the whole scouting department has input, and that gets represented by Perrin. So a whole analytics department has input that gets represented by different analytics guys, by Aller, by strategy, whatever it is. I do think that the Knicks have a good balance of different takes and different beliefs and philosophies. So Thibodeau isn't, estranged for his beliefs. He just has to kind of conform a bit if he wants to keep his job, which is what he's done in terms of the rotation changes he's made this season. Taking Rose out of the rotation for McBride, starting Grimes, playing Sims over Noel last season. I think that, these were all moves suggested strongly by the front office, and Thibodeau made them. So, you've got to credit him, but you also got to know that, the front office knows the coach well. They know that he might not be the best evaluator of talent, but that if they do the evaluation for him, he'll give them a great product with those players. So I think that's the balance that the Knicks have found that Thibodeau wasn't able to find at his previous stops.
Yeah. I think it's also a lot to be said about continuity and having an opportunity to just carry out your contract. There's a period of time of adjustments that need to be made, and if you suggest changes and changes are not made, then that's when you take a hardline stance. And if changes are still not made, then you move in a different direction. But I think this partnership and this relationship has allowed them to really endure a lot of the ups and downs and kind of see how this thing could work if he was able to do it his way as well. So I think the jury is still out. We got to see what this playoffs looks like. But I've been happy to see his ability to adjust at least this season, and that it worked out for him. So, what else they talking here on Knicks Reddit? Let's see. That's a commercial. It says 6'1" Deuce McBride blocks 6'11" Alperen Sengun to lead off the Obi Toppin fast break. And if we're watching this real quick, let's see if we tap that on.
Just on the 3-ball in front of Rockets bench. McBride blocks Sengun. Hart throws it ahead to Barrett. Now to Toppin goes up and throws it down. And the Rockets have seen this.
I love it. That's a great point. Let me go to the chat real quick, because I think I saw somebody was talking about they're part of Deuce Hive. So let's give them some love real quick before we begin to wind down and tie down the show. Wiz says, as the president and CEO of the Deuce Hive, my unbiased and objective question is, shouldn't Deuce get 10 minutes a game? I'm going to throw that to you, Kris.
I think the Knicks have a lot of good guards in Brunson, in Quickly, and then, Grimes plays guard minutes, and I think he's better than McBride. Hart can play wing minutes, guard minutes, forward, whatever, but he's better than McBride. And so it's just simply a case of having too many good players for the Knicks. I do think McBride is good. I do think McBride deserves to play, but I don't think McBride deserves to play over the people that play over him. So 10 minutes a game for McBride in the regular season, completely fine if you ask me. Give Brunson and Quickly a little bit of rest coming into the playoffs, but when you are trying to win every single game you play, which is, the case during the regular season, but especially in the playoffs, I would stick with the rotation that's been working for you, which would be that 9-man rotation.
Good response. We also have a comment from Joe White, who says, I can see Quick and Obi being beasts on a team like that Rocket team. Young vets working with the dynamic kids over there. I know their agents is in motion. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know any agents that are trying to get their clients to Houston. That is not a situation that players want to go to right now. They are going to have to build through the draft. That is not a desirable landing spot. Just because young players get to have the ball and run around freely with it doesn't necessarily mean that that's actually what's happening. Lots of complaints from the Houston fan base. I like to be parts of all of NBA's Twitter sections, and if you look at Rockets Twitter, the majority of the complaints from you know, the people of Rockets Twitter, but also the thought leaders, the analysts, is that they think Sengun should get more opportunities to do playmaking over Kevin Porter Jr. They don't like how the team is being coached. They don't think there's any leadership. They don't think there's any veteran leadership. Eric Gordon was asked if they've gotten better at anything in the first 4 months of the season. He said no. I know it's fun to say the grass is greener because that's a very human thing, and especially for Knicks fans, that's a big thing Knicks fans do. Is the other players are better than Knicks players. Other teams are better than the Knicks. Other teams are better landing spots, but I couldn't tell you any agents trying really hard to get their clients to Houston right now.
Man, that's great insight. I was also looking at some of the podcasts prior to the Houston game, and you're 100% right. They're clamoring for the Raptors coach. The Raptors coach right now, they're looking at him as the person that's going to supplant, Coach Cyrus out there in Houston. They really want the coach that's in Toronto right now. So I think you're spot on. I know other people said that they're missing just having a veteran in the locker room. They're running amok. They need more veterans on that team. So that's a good point. My guy Alawa says, "Shia, you made it to NYC yet?" No, not yet, my brother. Listen, I'm going to be in the Bronx. So I have the truck coming to load everything up and take it in that direction in a few days. But I'm not out here. Probably in 2 weeks, I'll be out there. So I'll definitely let you know. Maybe we can kind of tie up one of these playoff games and gather up somewhere. I'm 100% down for that. Alawa also says, you made it. Nope. I got you. I know you corrected it. And then OC once again with the comment says, first analysis of Tibbs that is balanced and not partisan. Let's go. OC also says at the beginning of the season, we were hoping the Knicks would get in the play-in. 100%.
I projected the Knicks to be a 7th seed, 8th seed team that would be in the play-in. So I think the hope for Knicks fans was to be a 5 or 6 seed, which is what it seems they'll accomplish this season. I do think, and I did a poll before the year to try and establish baseline expectations for Thibodeau from the fan base, because you know this year. I'm very interested in trying to poll the fan base, get the temperature of the fan base, because that's who is consuming the reporters' content, right? So I want to make sure I'm writing for the right people, and I think the expectation was around 40 wins, that this team could get 40 to 42 wins. That was by far and away the option that was voted for most by the Knicks fan base. And I think the Knicks have definitely showed they're going to surpass those expectations. So that comes down to the good decision-making by both the front office and Thibodeau. But I think it's also fine to look at that and say, oh, I think the team could be better if this and this happened. I don't agree with the philosophy that because you got a good output, there can't have been a better one. So I think there's a lot of truth to what you said, and I think it brings up a good discussion.
Man, great point. Before I go into the rest of these comments, KP, you had mentioned at the very, very beginning of the show in terms of your role and ideas for what it is that viewers would like to see. Do you want to repeat that while we have a couple more people that's in the chat right now?
My views on the team from...
Yeah, well, you were saying, just as a reporter, you report for the audience and for the fans. So if there's a specific athlete they would like to see.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm going to, I go to these games and I take a lot of, feedback from the fans, so, never be afraid if you come and follow my page as a result of seeing me here on the show. Just know, I love feedback. Always let me know, what you're looking for. If there's players you want me to cover more or less or whatever it is, I'm always here for that.
Excellent. All right, so we have another comment. We got Ashley Inc. 1 who says, KP, no concern over Tibbs' in-game adjustments and tendency to a lack of flexibility with rotations and an almost robotic timing?
Yeah, I think you could say Thibodeau's substitution patterns are a lot like shifts in hockey. You know, he has lineups that come in, come out, come in. It's very specific. But I do think it works well for the Knicks, and they're showing that this year in terms of now recently since acquiring Hart, being able to survive the comeback efforts that they did not previously in the year. So if you look at the games against Dallas and Portland and Atlanta, those were 14, 15, and 23-point comebacks. The Knicks were up a good deal on Denver recently, the number one team in the West, and the Denver came back and made it a game. And then Denver went on another run and really tied it up and even took a lead. And the Knicks went on a run of their own to close the game, catalyzed by a lot of movement off the ball from Josh Hart on offense and defensively, a lot of forced turnovers from him. So I think he's been a difference maker to the team. And I think the team has talent to a point where, yes, you can be concerned with the coach's tendencies, but I also find that every fan base has a lot of problems with their coach's tendencies because they watch the team so often. And I do think that, yes, Thibodeau could be better about adjusting quicker in game, but he has been playing quickly more minutes after he showed that he deserves them. You know, he has been letting Hartenstein, grow in that bench role. He has let McBride come on the court several times, after removing him from their rotation. He has no problem bringing him back in. And I think he's shown a lot of things that Knicks fans like to see from him here in the second half of this season.
Yeah, great point. Great questions. Keep those questions coming. Ash Inc. 1 also says, any concern with the non-selection of a first rounder last year and a possible no first rounder this year?
I think the Knicks, if they get the first round pick from Dallas, plan to select a player with it. That would be my best guess. I think they know it's best to have young talent coming up the pipeline. I think they know the strength of this draft class is exactly where that Dallas pick is projected to fall. You can get players that would go 6 to 10 in normal drafts at 13 in this draft. So it's a deep class at the top, and I think the Knicks know the value of that. If they don't get the pick from Dallas, they will have a lot of first round picks next year in 2024, and they will definitely make trades to spread those out over following years, because having a bunch of first round picks in 1 year just doesn't work out great. So, you can't give everyone reps that you'd like to, and yada, yada. So I think the Knicks will be making a draft selection in the first round this year, or if not, early second round, or then maybe 1 or 2 draft selections in the next draft if that Dallas pick really doesn't convey at all. But I can also see them, if they are without a first round pick in this year's draft, trading players in the rotation that they were going to move anyway for a pick in this year's draft. That's something I could see happening as well. So they've got to consolidate at some point. We're talking about how the Knicks have a lot of good players. Well, consolidation, you take a lot of good players and you turn them into fewer great players, right? Or a great player and a bad player, but you got the great player and, a great player in 1 roster spot as opposed to 3 good players in 3 roster spots. Obviously, that's why you've got to include picks. You've got to include different things to sweeten up the deal. And the Knicks have got a lot of picks. They've got a lot of young players. So they're going to have no problem making a deal when the time comes to swing for that star they've been looking for.
What I absolutely love is I think the Knicks keeping the players that they have and continuing to develop them is advertising, these players to the rest of the league. With IQ's performance and his challenging for the 6th man of the year, like that's everything. Because those same players that were supposed to be included in the Utah Jazz trade proposal, Utah was like, who are they? Like, what? We need more. So it's like Knicks fans in the organization knew what we had, the NBA didn't. So I know that they're watching now, but I'm just glad to see these young players thrive under our system. We have a lot wise who says, Ashley Inc., it depends on the matchup. Ashley Inc. also says, how would you address the missing athletic 3-and-D 6'7" plus small forward, or do you think we need one? What would you add or change this offseason, if anything?
Taylor Hendricks comes to mind from UCF as someone who fits that bill. He is a power forward. He plays center in college, but he's going to be a power forward at the next level, if you ask me. He's number 9 on the board I put out the other day, and that's because his blend of size and athleticism, and along with his shooting ability, looks to me like someone that the Knicks would like to have in their farm system. Maybe send him to Westchester to start the year, sign someone like a Trey Lyles to come off the bench, and then bring Hendricks up during the year, or even after the next season. Whenever it is, I could see them being interested in Taylor Hendricks because of all the attributes he has that fit what they look for. I also think Grady Dick is someone who fits that what you spoke about in terms of the athletic 3-and-D 6'7" small forward. Grady's like 6'8". He's sneaky athletic. Is the classic term there for your white boy shooter. But that's what Grady is, man. He's a fantastic shooter, arguably the best shooter in this entire draft class. He's up there with Jet Howard, Jordan Hawkins, these other guys that are fantastic shooters. I think Grady Dick is the number 1 shooter in the draft class in terms of the different kinds of shots he can make, etc. So he would fit that bill as well, but I'd expect him to be gone before the Knicks pick. I think it's a Ben Mathurin situation where even if he is a prospect that should go 8th or 10th in that kind of draft, he's viewed as so safe that he could go as high as 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm. Great feedback. We got about 3 more in here, KP, and then we're coming up on that 4 o'clock hour. I know you are a busy man. So we have OC once again says, I predicted hopefully that the team would win 45 games this season. I did as well, and the fingers continue to stay crossed. Ashley Inc. one says, KP, you definitely got a new subscriber, my brother. Follow her today.
Appreciate that very, very much. Thank you. I don't have a YouTube of my own, but I do a lot of work for WFUV Sports and Knicks Film School, so you can support over there. Thank you very much. I appreciate the kind words, and thanks, of course, to this guy right here for putting this show together and being a great host today.
Appreciate you. And lastly, we have Allah Wise, who says, yes, sir, Miami and Cleveland catching black eyes this week. And that's appropriate, Allah Wise, because I wanted to get your take, KP, on this week and the games that we have remaining to kind of tie up this what is considered a hell week for us.
Man, Miami, I think this New York game is the only game in a 5-day stretch for the Heat. So I think they're going to take that one. But with this Cleveland matchup, I think New York wants to set the tone ahead of what is a prospective playoff matchup. I think it wouldn't be the worst thing if the Knicks lost that game because they didn't want to show their game plan, didn't want to let Cleveland get too comfortable playing against them. Maybe they want to let Cleveland beat them and let Cleveland get comfortable thinking they can beat the Knicks, and then they come out strong in the playoffs. But I'm not trying to make any WWE storylines here. That's just, I don't think it'd be the worst if the Knicks went 0-2 in this stretch. I could see them splitting the games.
Okay. All right, now going into the playoffs this year, is there anything that you're looking forward to in terms of who really needs to show up and going into this playoff season? What are, if any, expectations that you may have?
Yeah, I think the Knicks should look to play 6 playoff games this year. And by that, I mean either they play in the first round and lose, but they lose in 6 or 7, or then they make it to the second round and maybe they play at least 8 games, but I think at least 6 where they just, it's not even, I think 4-1 in the first round would not be great. I think you want to go either 4-2 at worst, whatever it is. So I would say you want to play 6 playoff games if you're the New York Knicks.
All right. So you know me, my guy. You know some of my takes. You know I'm over the top about these Knicks sometimes. And there is nobody really. I mean, at the point, at the level of performance we've showed over the last 2 weeks, notwithstanding, I'm looking at the entire body of the season. We've been kind of streaky. And you know, the playoffs can be a series of runs. You know, we can hit a run. There's nobody in the East that really makes me nervous, with the exception of the Bucks. So is it too far-fetched to want to hope that we get to the conference finals? Because if I'm being honest, that is my belief, brother. I believe we're going to be in the conference finals talking our talk. Is that too far going? Am I reaching?
I think that between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics, the Knicks will not make it through both of those teams. Like, I don't think we live in a world where the New York Knicks appear in the finals. I can see the Knicks appearing in the Eastern Conference Finals, depending on how the bracket shakes out, depending on who gets beat by who early on. I think that the Knicks could potentially win a first round series, make it to the second round, get a team that's missing a player that's been injured in the first round or something, you know, possibly make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I would expect a second round exit, if not a first round exit, for this Knicks team. It's early on in their team building process. This is the first year that they have had expectations, and the expectations came along mid-season. So next year will be the first real season for the Leon Rose regime where they have expectations to win more games than they lose. You know, the over-under this year was 39.5. I thought the Knicks could win 42 games. That's more than half of their games. But, you know, my guess, I think, was 43 for the best I had. So, you know, I think next year the Knicks will be expected to win 47, 46 games, maybe 45, based on, you know, how much they improve their team. So we'll see how that goes.
All right. Now I have a hypothetical for you. And to try to utilize these 3 minutes, I have a hypothetical question for you. And then just a question about any cool stories that you may have had being in and around the Garden, being in and around the team. So my hypothetical question for you is, the front office always talked about being able to make sure they have assets, develop their players, and if there's an opportunity that presents itself in terms of free agents or players on another team, they'll position themselves to be able to move on them. Now, suddenly, you have Dame Lillard in Portland, you know, with the statement that he made, and it seems a little bit less sure that he's going to be in Portland for the long term. You have Luka suddenly expressing his lack of joy or his loss of joy playing the game. And then you have a Jaylen Brown who is completely giving the cold shoulder in a Kyrie-esque type of way to the Boston Celtics fan base as well. And then you always have the player that everybody would say would probably be a perfect fit if Giannis ever decided he wanted to leave Milwaukee. So indulge me with this. Of any of those players, who would be probably a great fit to slide in to the New York Knicks plans in terms of their pursuit of getting one of those superstars?
Run me through the list of superstars quick again, so I don't accidentally say someone that wasn't on it.
Damian Lillard, Luka, Giannis, and Jaylen Brown, if you consider him a superstar.
I don't, but
Okay.
I think out of those guys, Giannis would be the best fit because he's a great fit on 30 out of 30 NBA teams, but he's not leaving Milwaukee anytime soon. So out of that group, I would go with Jaylen Brown as an upgrade over RJ Barrett in the offense, someone that can bring more creation, a more efficient creation to the table, and be better with the amount of touches that they get, and maybe even command more touches than Barrett does. And then also be notably better on the defensive end. I think that would be a great fit for the Knicks. But I still think, you know, guys like Devin Booker, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are at the top of New York's wish list and are the guys to keep eyes on.
Excellent. And if you can, man, do you have any interesting or cool stories, that you want to share just in your time being a beat reporter working in and around Madison Square Garden in the New York Knicks?
Yeah, sure. Trying to think of what I can say.
I mean,
Yeah,
you had go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The first game I went to, I didn't really know how early I had to get there, so I got there super early. And I was waiting for the elevator to go upstairs. Never came. Was really, really waiting. Line got really long for the elevator, and finally the elevator came. And I was so focused on waiting for the elevator, I didn't realize Clyde Frazier was right behind me in the line. And it was my first game there, so a lot of nerves. And the elevator fills up with the people ahead of us in line, and I hear from behind me, like, "Oh, I'm just gonna take the stairs." And I was like, "Well, I know that voice." And obviously, I turn around, it's Clyde, and I think to myself, I could wait and be first in line for the next elevator, or I could go up the stairs, be a little tired, but get there now. This guy's probably not going to get denied at any doors, because I went to like 5 doors that I couldn't open. I was like, this guy can open any door in the building, so I'm gonna go up with him. And I got right where I needed to be, to the media room, right on time and all that. So that was a funny little story from my first game reporting on any NBA team.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So we got a few more comments before we head on out of here. I want to thank our special guest, Kris KP. You can find him. You can follow him on Twitter also, actually. But then we're going to give all of his socials where you can look for him. He's at Knicks Film School as well. OCOC says the only disagreement with him. 22. RJ Barrett should remain a Knick.
I think RJ Barrett will be a very good player. I think RJ Barrett will go to another team and become an all-star caliber player. I also think that the Knicks front office has shown that they have a specific type of player they like. And I think they've shown that when they trust someone's evaluation, for better or for worse, they're willing to ride with it. Tom Thibodeau, that they allowed him for 2 seasons to determine rotations and things of the sort. So I think they're going to stick to their guns and probably move Barrett for someone who would fit their scheme better, which is pull-up shooters, versatile multi-positional players, players that, if they are players that are going to have the ball in their hands a lot, will be very efficient from the floor. Randall doesn't fit that. They didn't sign him. They did choose to extend him when he had that all-NBA season. They've shown to be right on that long term. I see one more question in the comments I wanted to answer. That next one from Ashley, that ever met Willis Reed. No, I did not get a chance to meet Willis Reed, but RIP to Willis Reed. Fantastic history, fantastic contributor to NBA history, and a great all-time Knick.
Man, great point. Ashley 1 says the RJ Hive may come after you. Yo, Chris's experience. Chris don't care. OCOC says Jaylen Brown is not enough of an upgrade to trade RJ. He also says this is for the RJ haters. Link Devotion, Am Devotion 2020. I'll take a look at that. And I think that's about it, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. My guy, Kris Pursiainen. Round of applause. Throw your ones in the chat for this guy. He's phenomenal. He does great work, knowledgeable on all sports, but absolute knowledgeable, unbiased opinion and perspective on our New York Knicks. So if you can follow this guy wherever he is, please do so. Once again, if you want to kind of let them know where they can find you at, Kris.
Yeah, well, once again, don't bother spelling my last name. Just go peep bottom of the screen. Go type that into Twitter. You'll find me on there. I appreciate everyone who tuned in. I appreciate everyone who came from my Twitter to come support Sheer. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Sheer for having me. Tune in on the Knicks Film School YouTube channel tonight at 7 p.m. This is Tuesday, March 28th, tonight at 7 p.m. I'll be live for about an hour talking draft, talking March Madness, talking my big board. So it will be a pleasure to hopefully see you guys there.
Excellent, excellent. And I want to thank you all for watching. Keep in mind the same thing applies to life as applies to our team. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. We're about to dominate the Heat like we did the Rockets. And lastly, we here. We don't got next. We got right now. Sheer brilliance, Knicks. Peace.
Victory. I just got another victory. Opposition said they sick of me. We turn their future to history. They try to hit me, they missing me. Ooh.